Welcome to the Dental Brief, the world's direct, right-to-the-point podcast produced to get you the information you need to learn and grow your practice. To learn more about our guests and find links to information discussed on our show, visit our website, dentalbrief.com. On to today's episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Dental Brief, the fastest dental podcast on the internet. We love getting you the information that you need super fast, and our guest today is going to help us do that. Steve Cartin, say hello. Welcome to the show.
Well, hello. Glad to be with you, Patrick. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're grateful to have you here. Steve, your background's terrific. Just in case I forget, probably won't, but in case, a website URL for our users is cartincoaching.com, spelled a little different, CARTIN coaching.com. That's CARTIN coaching.com. Steve, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got in the dental industry.
Well, I was in the Air Force and had done a lot of kind of technology things. My mother was working for a dental company in the Houston area, and I did a favor for her, wrote a computer program to help her out in her job, just kind of a little freebie thing. And it turned out the owners liked that and asked me what else I could do. And, I was young at the time. I thought I could do anything. And so that's what I told them. I can do anything. What do you want me to do? So I started doing mainly some technology kind of consulting for them, and then kind of merged into some business and development, business growth and development coaching for them, and got really involved in the insurance side of things. That was way back beginning in the very early 90s. And so I've hung around the dental insurance industry ever since about 92, and have done a lot of things, coaching, consulting, and just recently started a different kind of branch. My business, as you mentioned, is Cartin Coaching and Management. And I just started the management part, and that's, we call that dental office support. That we provide support to practices around the country. And that website, and I may not have provided that to you, Patrick, is dentalofficesupport.com. And that's primarily what I'm doing. Although I'm still doing coaching and consulting, primarily I'm on the management side, helping practices around the country.
Sure. So, obviously, you started this new venture with dental office support because you saw a need for it. What was the need that you saw? What are some of the problems and struggles that you're seeing that practices need help with?
Well, what happened with me is I stepped back for a little while, intending to take about a 3 or 4 month kind of interim office manager role, because I'd been coaching and consulting for 12 or 13 years at the time. And I wanted to get my hands kind of dirty again, make sure that I really knew what I was talking about. The industry's changing a lot. Yep. And so I just couldn't find that kind of a role, looked, around, and just wasn't popping up. And it turned out that a husband and wife dental team had bought a practice nearby and asked me if I would help them. They wanted me to help them for a year. And I really wasn't thinking about doing anything like that for a year. But they made me a good offer. And so they let me keep my coaching business running, let me be a way to do that and the like. And I really did get my hands dirty for a full year, working with those two doctors, growing a practice that had gone down to just 3 days a week. With the retiring doctor who had sold it. And so here we're a new husband and wife owning the practice, needing to grow the practice, needing to grow the business. And they asked me to come in and help them particularly get ready for a marketing program they'd spend a lot of money on.
Sure. So what was this? Tell me, actually, let's kind of move forward a little bit. What are some of the key features? What are some of the key solutions that you offer dentists at dental office support?
Well, what we do is primarily we take care of the insurance side of things. I found that in order to grow the practice that we were in, we were having a lot of struggles. They were only in one network. Delta Dental Premier was it. Everything else was out of network, and they had spent about $28,000 on the marketing campaign, and it was money well spent. They had done a good job. But I found out early on that all the patients who called the practice didn't book appointments. And so the first time the mailers went out, we had 39 phone calls. We only booked 13 patients out of 39. The ladies at the front desk have been working front desk a long time. I thought they had that, kind of in the bag, but they didn't. And that's a terrible percentage. You pay a lot of money to a marketing company to get these patients to come in. Sure. And so you want them to come in. We didn't take Medicare. We didn't take Medicaid. It was the only network was Delta Dental. And so for most everybody, we were out of network. And these doctors are trying to grow a practice, and dental insurance was getting in the way. So I found out very quickly, if we were going to grow that practice, we had to find a way to get patients with dental insurance to come into the practice regardless of whether they were in our network. And then we had to get them to spend money and to say yes. They're never more motivated to accept treatment than that very first appointment. There's some reason they're there. They're divorced. They just got married, something, a new job, sure. A new opportunity. So for some reason they're there, and that's the time to get them to say yes. And if you have to wait and say, well, we're going to check with your insurance, we'll send off a pre-treatment, a predetermination, a pre-D. I call it pre-D a pre-denial because really that's what happens. And you do that, and the patient loses the motivation. You never get them in for the treatment. So that was the problem that I had to solve. And in the way I solved it, I learned a lot. I knew a lot about insurance, but I really kind of despised insurance. I still do, to be real honest with you. It's a terrible, terrible thing to have to put yourself through. But I decided that what we'd found that could grow our practice, and it grew like wildfire, could grow others. And so I learned to take that insurance that you've got to work with, you've got to deal with it one way or the other, and to turn it into something that's going to be a benefit to the practice and not a deterrent. Sure.
So what's the secret here? You've got us on the edge of our seats here, because I hear this scenario. I see this scenario. People are calling, they're getting the phone calls, but they turn out they're, quote, not the phone calls they want because they're out of network, or they can't verify insurance or what have you. So what's the secret? How do you convert these large amounts of calls into actual people in the office, and then of course the case acceptance?
Yeah, well, too many times patients hear from a dental staff that the team says, well, we talked to insurance. They told us this. The insurance got it wrong. They blame it on the insurance. And, insurance does mess up a lot of things and gets a lot of things wrong. And the last thing they want to do is to pay for treatment. But there is a contract between the patient and the insurance. And if you learn how to leverage that, then that helps the patient to get into a place to say, you don't want to poo-poo someone's insurance. You want to make a big deal of the fact that, hey, Patrick, this is great. It's great that your company is offering this plan to you, and that's going to help you with your treatment. Let's look at how it's going to impact the treatment we've recommended and see what we can do to get you on the schedule. I found out that there's only two reasons why a practice has any accounts receivable, only two. And that is either we didn't collect the right amount of money when the patient left, or we expect insurance to pay something that it's not going to pay. And the only way to solve either of those problems is to get the insurance part right from the beginning. You've got to know what's going to be paid. And once you can do that, you really open up the opportunity and you begin to speak with confidence to patients about insurance because they have heard it all. They've heard on the phone say, well, your insurance is probably going to cover. I mean, who wants to talk about probably going to cover,
Sure. Right.
Probably going to be $27, could be $130,
Right.
but when you're able to say, Patrick, we're looking forward to having you come in for your new patient appointment. Your new patient appointment in our practice is only going to cost $33. And even if you're out of network, if in network, it might not cost you anything. Okay. But if you're out of network and I say, Patrick, this is only going to cost you $33 because I've taken the knowledge I have of the insurance and I've gotten on top of that before the patient comes in. And I know exactly what MetLife's going to pay me. I know exactly what Cigna or Humana or any of those going to pay. And people would rather go somewhere where somebody could tell them exactly what it's going to cost them,
right,
than it's probably not going to cost them anything.
Sure, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. So it's just taking the bull by the horns and giving patients something they can work with and say yes.
Okay, so the patient's booked. They said, yeah, okay, $33. I can swing that. They've booked an appointment. Now what?
Well, so what we do at Dental Office Support is we work a practice's schedule, generally about 5 days in advance. We take all the new patients on the schedule. We call insurance, we get them verified. We go through a very comprehensive breakdown, not only to find out percentages and frequencies, but we get those things called processing guidelines. We're looking for when you can do a full mouth debridement or when you can do a perio maintenance or a scaling and root planing. And you got to have a history of this within this many months, or you can't have had this or this within this many months prior. And, there are all kind of ways that the dental insurance wants to not pay you for what you have actually paid them to get. So we're working on that to get a full breakdown of benefits, a history. We even tell dentists things like, well, hey, Patrick's coming in. He had a crown back in 2013, but he's eligible to have that crown replaced. So if that's giving him a problem, you can talk to him about that because he's eligible for a replacement. So we get history, we get the preventive, we get perio fillings, major history. We help practices to be fully prepared. All the practice has to do is put the patient on the schedule. We get all the work done, get them verified, and when the patient shows up, the practice is ready to go. It really is pretty slick.
Makes sense, Steve. Steve, let me ask you this question in general. Your travels, maybe there's some hard statistics somewhere about this. Maybe it's just anecdotally that you can tell us. When you have your typical practice, right, what are they leaving on the table when it comes to not maximizing reimbursements from insurance? Now, of course, they're trying to get those from patients when they can, but if they can't, what do you think they're leaving on the table?
Well,
percentage-wise.
Well, what they're leaving, I don't know what the numbers are, but I can tell you that all you have to do is to get one crown. Just get one crown, and you have more than 10 times paid for what it cost you to get that patient to come in the practice.
Sure.
So, practices are paying, $100, sometimes $150 each to get a patient in.
Yep.
And doctors lose money on a new patient exam. I mean, they're very inexpensive, but you've spent time getting them on the schedule. You've spent time verifying their insurance.
Sure.
Now you got them in for an hour. That's, about 30 minutes of the doctor's time, maybe 30 minutes of the hygienist's time. It's time of the front desk. And it's really a loss leader. You're losing money. If you can't convert that new patient into someone who says yes to treatment, then you're losing money on those new patients. And you can't convert them if you don't know how to let them understand their benefits and what they've got coming.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Steve. I want to encourage our audience to reach out to you. dentalofficesupport.com is that URL. Tell me your experience, your expertise here. Let me give you the last minute. What else does my audience need to hear from you today?
Well, There are a lot of frustrations in your practice. There are things that only your team can do. We here from our office in South Carolina, we can't speak to your patients. We can't turn your patients into raving fans, at least not directly. But if you've got your time, if you're on the phone making a call to insurance, if you're on the phone taking a call, making a call, you can't take a call. Sure. And so we keep you from having your phone tied up, having your people tied up, and get their faces out of the computers and out of the desk and up looking at patients and taking care of the patient needs, and making sure that when you tell a patient, hey, that treatment, you're going to owe us $128. Make sure that when that EOB comes back from insurance, they owe you $128. So they become raving fans very quickly, and they recommend their family and friends. And that's what happened in the practice where we were at. We got 173 patients in a year out of the campaign, and another 72 or 73 out of referrals from those patients. But we had to turn that around, and insurance was a stumbling block, and it became a building block.
Yeah, makes sense. Steve Cartin, dentalofficesupport.com. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Well, thank you, Patrick. Glad to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode. Did you know you can weigh in on today's topic on Facebook? Search The Dental Brief on Facebook or visit our website, dentalbrief.com, and just follow the link. We look forward to having you join us again on another episode of The Dental Brief.